Journey is a game about, well, a journey, both in a literal and a metaphorical sense. It was originally released in 2012 as a PlayStation exclusive, and since then has been ported to iOS and PC as well. The footage you see in the video was recorded from the PS4 version. I wouldn't say there is a particular definitive release of Journey, all platforms have the same game. And while all feature different resolution or graphical fidelity and somewhat different sand rendering, they still look and play great, so you can't go wrong with any version. Before we go on, I have to mention that Journey is one of those games that is best experienced without knowing much about it, so if you haven't played it, try to make sure to do so first. If you have or still want to watch the video regardless, well, you should know then that my name is Stanislav Costiuc, I am a game designer, and this is my review of Journey, which I will do with the help of my Stasocritic system, the first category of which is design. This category has got the biggest weight for scores, 4, as the way a game is designed is what affects experience the most. In all games, it is difficult to talk about different aspects fully separately from one another because everything is intertwined. Especially so in Journey, where the design, narrative, and even aesthetics are pretty much the same thing, but in this section we will try to concentrate more on the gameplay aspect of the equation here. First though, we have to delve into the thematic core of Journey, which is the hero's journey paradigm, also known as the Monomyth. It is a storytelling structure that has been utilized across thousands of generations and hundreds of cultures, with the main focus on transformation. Somebody starts in one state of being, and then throughout a series of events and challenges transforms into a different person. This is a structure so classic that you can find it in works like The Hobbit, Harry Potter, Star Wars, and many others. And what makes it so relatable is that in many ways it mirrors how we as people ourselves change and transform throughout our lives thanks to the events and challenges we are facing. Some people might go, the hero's journey again, because it does tend to be overused and it's far from the only narrative tool that exists. And it is primarily a tool, and like any tool, what is important is not the fact of just using it, but how you do it. And this how is what makes Journey unique. The Monomyth is at the heart of absolutely every facet of the game, and thanks to the power of interactivity, Journey doesn't make you tag along a fictional character's hero's journey, but has you go through one yourself. It essentially makes you go through a mini version of life, your life. Journey has 8 levels bookended by the main menu in the beginning and credits at the end. Each represents a particular step of the hero's journey. Now, a little tangent, while the developers have utilized the structure of the Monomyth as originally defined by Campbell, in this video I'll use the more streamlined version provided by Vogler, which is equally applicable. I feel it provides more breathing room, which is why I prefer this version. Main menu represents the ordinary world, the unsuspecting simple life before the adventure begins. As soon as we start the game, we get into the first stage, the beginning, which represents the call to adventure, something to shake up the status quo. We see the mountain amidst the desert, instantly understanding we have to get there, and on the way we receive our scarf, which will help us on this adventure. The second level, the bridge, corresponds to crossing the threshold step, when we use our newfound skills to fully transfer into the special world and commit to the adventure. In Journey's case, we build up the bridge structures to then cross a quite literal threshold of sand. Which leads us to the desert, the stage representing the tests, allies and enemies step. This is where we venture into a fully unknown area, shown as a very vast, seemingly unlimited desert with no comprehensible at first landmarks. We learn more about the rules of this world and are likely to be connected to many different companions online. Once we cross the desert and reach the descent stage, we start the approach to the inner cave. This step is essentially preparation for confronting a special challenge. In Journey's case, there is a jovial sensation about it, as now being comfortable with how things work, we get to fully utilize our flight abilities. But after, we get to the tunnel level. This corresponds to the ordeal step of the journey, when characters face their darkest fears, or death itself. In Journey we encounter the Guardians, ancient war machines created thanks to mistakes of the past. This is also where we see the final parts of our civilization's history and what has led to its destruction. After successfully navigating the cave, we reach the temple. This is seizing the sword step, also known as the reward, when after all our trials we get a special treasure. In Journey, the treasure is knowledge of what awaits us and what we have to do, which leads us to the mountain representing the road back step of the journey. We, equipped with the treasure, in this case knowledge, go forth to complete the adventure and get back home to the ordinary world. But the mountain eventually wins and death itself dawns upon us, though this is not the end. As what follows next is the resurrection step, in Journey's case quite literal one, as thanks to us not giving up until the last breath, we ascend all the way up to the summit. Resurrection is the final moment of death and rebirth, finishing our transformation into the new person that we are. And once we reach the light in the mountain, the game ends, and during the credits we are sent all the way towards the beginning. This is the return with the elixir step, when we go back to the ordinary world, but not without being affected by the experiences and lessons of the special world that have changed us forever. Journey does that last element in an interesting way, by adding embroideries to your robes each time you finish the game, up to 3 times. This way, depending on the robes, you can see how experienced the other player is. And if you find all hidden scarf upgrades, you can get a special white robe. Both play into the cooperative aspects of the game, as more experienced people can and do actually become mentors to newbies, but the online part will be discussed later. To each of these steps we can apply an emotional level representing the desired state of the main character, which in Journey's case is you. And this chart is really at the core of everything. In terms of mechanics, the implied emotional level is tied to freedom of movement. The higher your emotional state is supposed to be, the more possibilities of flying and free movement you have. At first, when you don't have the scarf, you can only walk, which can take a bit of time and effort. Though sliding down a sand dune is always joyful and fast, so there is a constant change of pace to make sure you don't just walk. When you get your first scarf, you'll be able to fly, but because the scarf is short, not for a very long time. As you collect special symbols, your scarf will become longer and longer, and the game will introduce different types of carpets, all of which recharge your scarf and boost your mobility one way or another, depending on what type of carpet that is. And flying is always deliberately very flowy. Not only is it enjoyable on an aesthetic level, but it allows you to cross bigger distances faster, which makes it much more preferable than walking and therefore tied to positive emotions. So the first part of the game is spent gradually amassing these positive emotions as you gain more and more possibilities to fly, culminating in a special sliding level where you're surrounded by a lot of carpets, so you could always keep your scarf recharged, and therefore you have this constant flowy movement that feels very nice. But this is where we get to the first contrast point of the game. When you get to the tunnel, not only are there barely any carpets around, which means scarf recharging is limited, the guardians are on the prowl to destroy any of the few they see. Should they detect and hit you, part of your scarf will be permanently removed, so the game lowers your emotional state to the point of fear by removing a lot of elements that provide very free movement, and having a real danger in the form of your scarf getting shortened and therefore movement limited even more. There is a moment of brightness when you have to climb the tower with the possibility to have a lot of free movement. Even if your scarf will be totally destroyed, the whole level is about filling the cavern with special particles that allow you to have unlimited flying within them. But then the game just hammers you down. The character moves slowly in snow, controller vibrating with every step due to cold, scarf is constantly freezing so you can't fly much, and even when you do, it is heavy and not efficient at all. Sliding is absolutely absent, and there are these guardians again from which you have to hide. Not to mention the wind that keeps pushing you back if you don't find appropriate cover. The game is doing absolutely everything to transform movement into a struggle and put you into the lowest emotional state possible. But that is only so you could experience the biggest contrast in the mechanics of movement the game has to offer, from barely being able to walk to essentially unlimited flying and freedom. And that contrast leads to an array of positive emotions, mirroring mechanically the feelings a character goes through as part of the hero's journey paradigm. These emotional levels are also represented within the layout of the environment surrounding you. As your freedom of movement begins to rise, so do you gradually move upwards towards your goal. When you're descending into the inner cave to face your fears, the map is literally a descent that corresponds to the change of the emotional state you soon will be experiencing. And as your emotional state rises again while you are seizing the sword, so does the level that is ascending towards a higher point. Naturally, at the end, we literally fly up from the lowest point on the mountain to the absolute heights for apotheosis, providing a huge contrast that's not just mechanical but environmental as well. Everything about Journey's design focuses on transposing the change of emotions from the hero's journey paradigm onto you directly. This is why mechanically it is not a complex game. Your main moveset is walking, sliding, and flying, basically the things that directly tie to your emotions mechanically. Then there's also the song, or chirp, or however you want to call it, the sound you make to call surrounding carpets closer to you. Now, that is its direct gameplay purpose, to assist with the freedom of movement, which again ties into your emotional state. However, it is also a communication tool with other players who can be connected to you at any moment. Not only that, but it can be used to recharge your companion's scarf. And when you two are close, you hit each other up, which is especially helpful in the last snowy level. The only co-op mechanics that exist in the game are focused on assisting each other. The worst you can do to another player is just ignore them. But online companions are not a gimmick. They also play into the whole aspect of creating emotions, because through your interaction with them you can create your own personal stories, where you have fun together, or when you keep the scarves of one another recharged as you fly through the environment, ensuring a large freedom of movement and therefore positive emotions, or when you mourn the disconnect of a companion who gave up and vanished, or when one of you mentors the other by showing where to find Journey's secrets. And outside of some Easter eggs, those secrets are again directly tied to the creation of emotional spikes. There are essentially two things that you can find throughout the game: symbols that make your scarf longer and directly play into emotions created by mechanics, and ancient glyphs that show more details about the history of the world, and that plays into emotions created by the narrative. Journey is all about emotions. But because the game is created only from the perspective of overall positive and negative emotions, and nothing is specified concretely neither on game design level nor in any other facet of the game, you as a player instinctively apply emotions specific to you, to what you feel, and to what happens in the game. Feelings of loneliness, happiness, love, loss, friendship, death. Journey never tries to call upon any of these specifically, and yet any of these and more is something you may feel or think about due to how applicable everything is. All this is why, if you open up the scores for the design category, I will assign a 10 to Journey. It has a specific goal to create emotions through build-ups and contrasts while you're going towards your own personal hero's journey, and it does absolutely everything to achieve that goal with nothing extraneous, and it is all implemented well, so it is absolutely exemplary for the type of game it tries to be. Now let's talk about context. This is a category with a weighted one, because context is something that enhances the experience but doesn't necessarily define it. World, story, characters, arcs, etc. And a lot of what I have talked about in the previous category applies here as well, since in Journey gameplay is context. So we'll not repeat anything related to structure and emotions, and just focus on some things related to this category specifically. While Journey in many ways is more of an abstract game that prefers to not tell concrete things, there is still enough information to create a particular picture of the world you're in. Every location is a step in examining the history of this long-lost civilization. You start at what you discover is a literal mass gravesite, and then a lot of exploration and cutscenes are about learning how that happened. Which in the end is a tale that should be familiar to us all, because people didn't want to share and help each other, a war erupted that in the end killed them all. And this, in conjunction with the fact that you can't impede anybody's progress, forms a statement about the need of unity and cooperation, which is further developed by the look of the player characters. They are done specifically in such a way that you can't really define gender, race, or even age. It can be anyone, whoever plays the game at this moment in time. And that, combined with absence of any voice communication capability, removes absolutely all bias when two people are connected together. While on one hand this is a defense mechanism against toxic behavior, at the core it is another statement that anybody in life can connect with absolutely everyone else if we remove or overcome the layer of prejudice that governs many of us. Combine all those themes and the beautiful, grand and ruined world, together with how masterfully Journey plays with emotions and applicable feelings while having you go through your own hero's journey that is impeccably structured, and you can see why out of all scores for context I will assign a 10. Not everyone will see or feel or understand absolutely the same thing, but that also makes each journey unique for every other person. Let's move on to aesthetics. Another category with a weight of 1, because it is again about something that enhances the experience but doesn't necessarily define it. Visual style, sounds, music, and so on. I guess the very first thing that's worth mentioning is that you can take pretty much every shot of Journey and it will feel like a painting. The game is just astonishingly beautiful, the way it plays with framing even while you have full camera control, the light and shadows, the glistening of sand, but most importantly, the way Journey utilizes colors. Because every stage has a different color scheme that is specifically tailored to help with defining your emotional levels in relation to the current narrative progression. How the colors get increasingly more bright and colorful as you get filled with an array of positive feelings, and how the world gets devoid of colors as you're put in situations that cause fear or struggle. And these emotional states are supported by the music as well. At its core, the music of Journey is built around a single leitmotif. And that leitmotif is played in different variations corresponding to the step of the journey and the current emotional height you should be at. What's wonderful about Journey's musical landscape is that it's connected to players' actions. It can be broad in general, applying to many players, like how in the bridge level, activation of each carpet adds something onto the music. But it can also be something specific, how seeing a certain object or doing a particular thing in a particular moment will lead to a couple notes playing only when those concrete actions happen. This is not something players will openly realize, but it makes everybody's musical journey unique. And of course, we can't forget to mention the chirp every player character has. This sound deserves a whole video on its own, for which I will be honest, I don't have the expertise. But I can mention some general things that make it one of the greatest sound effects ever made. The thing is, the sound you make when pressing that button is not a single definitive sound. It is different based on many factors, which can include the length of the button press, how much time has passed since the last button press, the level you're in, whether you have a companion or not, and if you do, whether you're near them or not. Maybe there are more, but these are the conditions I have noticed. And not only do all these conditions make the call one of the most varied sound effects ever, that also blends well together with the overall musical soundscape, sort of letting you add your own music to the one the game plays, it also allows you to express your emotions. So given everything that I have described, I think it goes without saying that when it comes to aesthetics, Journey gets assigned a 10. It is beautiful, extremely polished, and there are so many things that enhance the experience and help to make each playthrough unique. The next category is Cohesion. This category has a weight of 2, and it is all about how well the game connects all of its different aspects together to form a cohesive, holistic whole. And in this particular video we won't spend much time in this category at all, because do I really have to say anything more by this point other than that Journey will get assigned a 10 for Cohesion? We have spent all this time discussing how Journey revolves around a particular thematic core, and how absolutely everything that it does is in the name of creating different emotions while transposing that core onto you, utilizing absolutely all possible means, from mechanics to levels to narrative to visuals to sound. That's for sure a 10. Let's move on to emotions. This category is the most subjective part of Stasocritic, as it's purely about personal feelings I get while playing a particular title, but it also has got the second biggest weight, 3, because ultimately personal feelings matter a whole lot. Journey is a game that I have first tried back in 2012 at a friend's house when it was released for PlayStation 3. And since then, I've played this game at least once every following year. Honestly, I can't even explain what in particular drives me towards it, because unlike many other players, I have never associated my life or my struggles with what's happening. It's less about retrospection and more about hope, I guess. Because every time I play Journey, I feel emotionally reinvigorated. Like for these few hours of going through Journey, I just drop the weight of everything that is happening in the world around us and get filled with the hope that everything is gonna be alright. That we'll make through whatever other shit drops down on us year by year. That despite all hatred and bigotry that exist in the world, there will always be somebody to help another person out. This is why I will definitely assign a 10 for emotions. The developers of Journey have mentioned that their main goal was always to help players reach a cathartic state, and I guess that is exactly what the game does to me year after year. Now let's sum everything up. I guess I don't really have to do any calculations this time, because of all 10s, the final Stasocritic rating that Journey gets is 100. An absolutely amazing, breathtaking experience. Now, in case this happens to be the first video of mine that you watch, I have to clarify that even if I provide arguments for everything, at the end of the day, Stasocritic is just a representation of my opinions within a number, but I have balanced everything specifically in such a way that it is extremely difficult to get 90+, and reaching 100 is a massive feat, which Journey has successfully achieved. It is a masterpiece. Of course, personal feelings one gets from the game matter a lot, and not everybody will feel the same things as I have. And that's fine, but it doesn't remove the merits of everything Journey does for the experience it tries to deliver, and I still believe that it is probably the purest game there is, because it taps into something we're drawn towards for thousands of years, the Monomyth, but in a way that you, as a player, can imbue your own meaning into what happens on screen as you're playing. And most people do. Generally speaking, players that go through Journey don't really think about the Monomyth, it's not even on their minds. They think about life, love, friendship, death, hope. They can apply their own personal struggles to what is happening in the game and take something from it that can help them in reality. And that's because Journey is not just a game that utilizes the Monomyth. It is the Monomyth, the hero's journey, and that hero is you. Thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the bell button and comment about your experiences with Journey. A special thanks goes of course to my patrons who have supported me all this time. This video wouldn't have been possible without them. If you like what I am doing, please consider checking out my campaign at patreon.com/farlands or on YouTube membership program. Thank you very much.